I'm a sucker for a great retro experience, and the last decade of new games has helped players like me spend a lot of money. Love Mega Man? Well, here's 20XX. Love Castlevania? Here's Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. Love DuckTales? Here comes Shovel Knight. Every great franchise of the retro era has been remade with a spiritual successor in some way or another, it seems like. But today's game actually combines two retro classics from yesteryear and creates one of the most engaging retro experiences that I've come across. Tanuki Justice. Tanuki Justice combines the gameplay of Contra and Ninja Gaiden, except you play as a Tanuki. Like that's a bad thing. And it's in a wonderful, vibrant cartoon world. But don't let the cutesy graphics fool you. This game is a controller gripping or a controller throwing challenge and is one of the best current retro games I've come across. So today, let's break down and discuss Tanuki Justice and why you should give this game a try. Before we get too far into that, welcome to Ogle's channel. Thank you so much for watching today. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to click the subscribe button down below for your latest in gaming news, reviews, content, and a lot of retro stuff as well. But let's get back to talking about Tanuki Justice. The story for this game is as simple as you can possibly get. Giant bad guy appears with an army of other bad guys and says, "I'm going to dominate the world." Then Tanuki says, "In your dreams," and that's it. This is the whole story. The story is simple, to the point, and I love it. They could have created a long, multi-scene opening, but they know why people play these retro games. It's for the gameplay. By creating a comically short story, they are proving they know their audience. When the game itself loads up, you will immediately feel at home. The gameplay is a straight mix of Ninja Gaiden and Contra. Your weapon of choice is a shuriken, and you have an unlimited amount that you can throw at your opponents. You can throw your shuriken in any direction, much akin to how you can aim your gun into early Contra games. And once you hit your enemies enough, or pick up these blue orbs, you can feel your special meter, and you can unleash a massive shuriken which pretty much clears out the entire screen. You can also find an upgrade for it that allows for increased distance and power, and while it's not necessary, once you have this upgrade, you will do everything in your power not to die and lose it. There are a few other items to collect, such as extra lives and a shield, and the hope of finding one of these in one of these boxes is definitely worth the time to bust every single box in sight. Now, while busting the boxes searching for upgrades is fun and all, we all know what we're really focused on attacking in this game: the enemies. The enemy design in this game is extremely well done and diverse. From giant bulls that send shockwaves from pounding the ground too hard, to giant lions that sling energy blasts from their swords, to magic pigs that shoot energy blasts on top of them, and no, not that magic pig, to samurai dogs, to fellow ninjas, and honestly, more enemies than you can count in this game. But it's not just about quantity. You can tell that thought and creativity went into all the enemy designs to give the most engaging experience possible. As you start a new level, you're always excited to see what creatures await you in this new landscape. And that's another thing this game has done well. Each of the core 6 levels has a landscape and setting that is completely its own. My personal favorites were probably the cemetery and the river. I just really felt that they nailed the aesthetics down perfectly on those levels. The cemetery having the zombies and the 80s sci-fi looking disappearing platforms, and the river having the beautiful waterfall with the giving fish. So willing to give out death, that is. The levels don't generally take too long, probably around 5 to 10 minutes to journey through, and they all have a pretty similar format. Platforming and fighting until about halfway through, then a mini boss or a swarm of enemies to fend off, and then you finish it up with a boss fight. And these boss fights are incredible. Each one gives you a multi-part battle and keeps you on your toes. The demon wolf and the cute little panda, even though those are complete opposites, were probably my favorites, but you can't go wrong with a giant turtle or the dragons either. Since the levels are short, there are no checkpoints on the way to the bosses, meaning you need to finish the entire level and beat the boss with just the amount of lives that you have on you. This adds to the challenge, but it also keeps the game feeling retro as you progress. I feel like just by showing the clips of the game so far, you have a pretty general idea of the graphics, and I like the direction that they went in. While it has an 8-bit influence, I'd probably be more willing to call this a 16-bit game due to some of the sprites looking a little more complex with their shading and such as that. They wanted to make this game play and look retro, and they definitely succeeded on that front. To accompany the retro look, the developers also created one of the best soundtracks of the year for 2020. Every level has a killer theme and you just can't get the tunes out of your head. All the music in this review is pulled directly from the game, but just give it a 10-second sample here at full blast. wonderful. This is a classic soundtrack and it makes the levels even more enjoyable. While everything I've said so far is pretty positive, and I truly do like this game a lot, there are a few issues with it. First off, you cannot drop down between ledges. This is a must-have for a game like this to alternate between the platforms. I found myself trying to do this move constantly throughout the game, just to fail over and over. Also, while the weapon does offer an upgrade, it is literally just one upgrade the entire game. They should have made it more like Contra, where you have multiple upgrade choices for your weapon throughout the experience. This would have added a bit more variety to the gameplay as you progressed. And my final issue would have to be that the game is a bit on the short side. The first time playing through with the learning curve, it'll take you a little under 2 hours. However, after that, you can have the game done well under an hour. Yes, there are other difficulty modes to play on, a survival mode, but even with all of this, the game itself is fairly short. For a $15 game, I would expect it to be just a tad bit longer. Overall though, Tanuki Justice is a fantastic game that truly captures the spirit and energy of what it means to be a retro game. Basic story, great gameplay, killer chiptune soundtrack, simple yet gorgeous graphics. It's just a great game, and if it had come out when I was a kid, it would have been one of my favorites. Do yourself a favor and journey down memory lane and give Tanuki Justice a try. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, go out there, find a great game to play, just simply have a great rest of the day.